And welcome back to Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, here with Stephen Taylor. He's a former senior political advisor in Ottawa, and really our take on the political surroundings with the CPC leadership reaching its conclusion. Stephen, we've talked about the bread and butter issues, inflation, cost of living, etc. I'd love to get your take. It was almost a perfect storm in favor of Pierre Poilievre. These were the things he liked talking about. He's a former shadow finance minister, and he talked about those issues. And of course, at the same time, inflation was spiraling, cost of living was becoming more problematic, particularly for younger Canadians. Is this his path to victory against Justin Trudeau in the next federal election?
Yeah, I mean, the last 2 or 3 years with the global pandemic really shifted a lot of people's points of view and their priorities, and shifted government priorities as well. And we saw this Trudeau government cutting checks left, right, and center to most Canadians, and even still doing so, claiming that such economic fiscal policy will not spur on inflation, despite evidence to the contrary. We've run the experiment for the last 2 years. We've sort of seen what happens. There is debate. TD put out a report with, I think, Trevor Tomby in Alberta, relating what's behind inflation from government policy to supply issues. But Scotiabank says that, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the prime rate could go above 4%, despite Justin Trudeau's assurances to the contrary that his cost of living assistance to Canadians, cutting checks, will have nothing to do with inflation. And I think Conservatives disagree.
Yeah, that seems to be being panned, and I think Mr. Poilievre himself made a reference to that as well. So you're agreeing with me that the economy is going to be one of the big issues coming months and up until whenever the next election is.
Well, I mean, it always is. For Conservatives, when Conservatives win, they win on the economy. And like I said, this has been a perfect storm of the last 2 years, converged all these issues, put the economy into focus for Canadians. And I think with Pierre, the difference between Pierre and Aaron O'Toole and Andrew Scheer, for example, is that Jean Charest pointed out, it's on tone. Conservatives have someone who isn't afraid to throw a punch, will step out in front and take those hits. They've got a fighter in Pierre, and someone who doesn't sort of shrink away from a fight.
Were you surprised at the number of younger voters, millennials and younger, who flocked to Poilievre's campaign?
Not particularly, although as a Conservative, it's nice to see younger people join your party. Typically, younger people, it's the Winston Churchill quote, if you're young or if you're old and you know which one I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah,
If you're young, you don't have a mind, but if you're old and you don't have a heart, that's the problem. Something like that.
Exactly. So people tend to become more conservative as they grow older, when they start paying more tax and start to have families and the rest. But younger people are starting to wonder if they're going to be able to afford a home. They're looking at the current government's plan for the economy and aren't overwhelmed by it, to say the least. So I think younger people are looking towards an alternative and really wondering if the opportunities afforded to their parents' generation or even their grandparents' generation will be afforded to them.
Yeah, there's a definite diminution in confidence in the future. And, Poilievre has been saying that people are not necessarily angry, but they're frustrated. But he wants to bring an element of hope to this, right?
Yeah. So Justin Trudeau ran on hope and hard work, and I saw an interesting communications note in some of the Poilievre camp's messaging after he won, and he said, people are hurting. It's time to restore hope. So there's this element of hope that threads through senior political campaigns, Liberals and Conservatives, the last 10 years. But Justin Trudeau hasn't delivered on the hope. And Pierre is really just pointing out the obvious.
Yeah, interesting point. And of course, hope is always, you look at Barack Obama, that was the moniker for what he was doing as well. So when you're in opposition and the government looks older and tired, more tired, you want to be the candidate of hope. But what Pierre Poilievre has done is attached it to actual economic issues. It's not just a slogan without any context. It is about the economic future. We're going to come back with Stephen Taylor after the break. Stay with us.